She called me the R-Slur right in front of everyone just because I tried to help her. I've got autism, ADHD, and anxiety, and I still show up to work and do my job better than most. We're not a big chain. We don't have commercials on TV, and we definitely don't have a jingle. But we make everything in-house. Dough, sauce, toppings all fresh, all natural. The kind of place that smells like garlic and oregano the moment you walk in. And if you've ever worked with fresh mozzarella, you know that stuff slaps differently. But when she crossed the line that day, I knew I couldn't let it slide. But then little things started to feel off. At first, I didn't think anything of it. Maybe she was just curious. But then I started noticing a pattern somehow. She always landed the orders going to the rich part of town. The ones that tipped 10, $15 without blinking. And somehow the rest of us got stuck with the no-tippers or the sketchy apartment buildings with broken elevators. There was Mikey, the night shift driver who knew every street in town better than Google Maps. Sarah, who could toss dough into perfect circles while ranting about reality TV. And I knew if Bandy kept crossing lines, I wouldn't stay silent forever. Oh yeah, you're not supposed to do that. These meetings were rare, usually just a chance to align on updates, safety protocols, and customer feedback. But not this time. Bandy completely hijacked it. She went off about her church events, Bible quotes, and her mission work like she was giving a sermon. We were all sitting there, awkwardly shifting in our seats, wondering when we'd get back to actual work topics. She wasn't even subtle about it. She'd walk over, glance at the screen, and somehow always end up grabbing the best-paying route. I brought it up again. Nothing happened. Wait, what? Apparently, selecting deliveries out of order is a big no-no. I'd accidentally done it once in front of him and got corrected immediately. Yet Bandy had been doing it regularly and no one said a word, talking sweet to the managers. Playing the older responsible woman card. Meanwhile, she was undermining the very team she claimed to be part of. And then there was me, ADHD-riddled, anxiety-prone, autistic, but still holding it down, doing my job with pride. We all had issues. We all had off days, but respect, that was non-negotiable. I wasn't the fastest, but I was reliable, and my work spoke for itself. I had two options, let it go and suffer in silence, or play the long game and make sure justice caught up to her. Drivers loaded up. We high-fived. Sure, it got hectic. Friday nights were war zones, but we had each other's backs. There was a kind of unspoken respect. You showed up on time, did your part, and you didn't mess with tips. That was sacred. The tips were divided fairly, based on a first-come, first-served system for deliveries. No cherry-picking, no shady games. Just hustle and fairness. Spoiler alert, I chose revenge, and it's still unfolding. Let me walk you through how one toxic coworker messed with the wrong person. A 43-year-old woman with big church anti-energy. Polite, talked a lot about her faith. She was the kind of person who called everyone hun and said things like, bless your heart, in that sweet but secretly judgy way. At first, we thought, okay, she's older, probably responsible, maybe she adds some calm to the chaos. Have you ever worked somewhere that's not fancy, not flashy, but it feels right? That's how it was at our little pizza shop. The crew? Well, we were a ragtag bunch, but it worked. Everyone had their quirks. We had a rhythm, orders came in. We hustled. But that all changed when Bandy walked in. Now, when Bandy first joined, we didn't think much of her. And for about a month, that seemed true. She showed up on time, learned the ropes, and handled deliveries decently. I'd catch her hovering around the dispatch screen, peeking at the delivery queue when it wasn't her turn. It didn't sit right with me. But I figured maybe it was just luck, until I casually mentioned it to my manager. His reaction? I started watching more closely. It came to a head during one of our driver meetings. After that meeting, I realized something important. Bandy wasn't just playing the system, she was manipulating it. And as someone who already had to work twice as hard to be seen as capable due to my autism and ADHD, watching her get away with everything was infuriating. At this point, I didn't know what was coming. But I knew something was off. When Bandy first walked through the door, I'll be real, I didn't think twice about her. She was 43, polite, soft-spoken, she had that church lady aura. Like the type to bake casseroles for sick neighbors and say a little prayer before clocking in. In a place where we got random teens, college kids, and burnout delivery dudes coming and going, talk about policy updates, safety reminders, customer complaints, whatever. She'd ramble on about her charity work, her Bible study group, how she was praying for all of us sinners and the actual work topics. They'd get pushed to the side. This wasn't harmless. This was calculated. She knew exactly what she was doing, smiling sweet to the managers while screwing the rest of us over. And anytime someone dared raise a complaint, it got brushed aside or they were told to stop stirring drama. But when Bandy got in the room, forget it. Suddenly, the whole meeting turned into her personal church testimony hour. The kind where the orders trickle in slow and steady, and the kitchen is a mess of half-finished prep, sauce splatters, and the endless stack of dishes no one wants to touch. She was dumping her complaints on anyone who'd listen except nobody really was. Most of the crew was tired of her drama. I was already on edge that day. My anxiety had been creeping up since I clocked in. The noise and heat making it feel like I was vibrating out of my own skin. But I kept my head down, doing what I always do. Focus, stay organized, keep it moving. Just more work than one person should have to do. We had real issues to discuss, like how to handle deliveries in bad weather. Or the customer who was reportedly scamming free pizzas off the store, but Bandy made it all about her. I didn't want to be the one to interrupt the sweet church lady. I saw Bandy huffing at the sink, half scrubbing pans while muttering under her breath. I didn't want to go back there, honestly. But the rest of the line was slammed, so I decided to step in and help. It wasn't my job that night, but the sooner the dishes got done, the sooner we could all breathe. But something in my brain said, don't. She wants you to blow up. She wants you to look unstable. But the longer this went on, the more it felt like Bandy was playing everyone. I walked right past the line, out through the side door into the alley, and let the cold night air hit me in the face. I was shaking, fists clenched, breath coming in short bursts. I thought about my diagnosis, all the crap I'd taken growing up. The teachers who said I'd never hold a job, the kids in school who'd hiss that word under their breath. I thought about how I'd worked so damn hard to be reliable, calm, normal. I saved it to my phone, dated and timestamped. Because I knew this wasn't over. She'd shown her true colors, and there was no way in hell I was letting her slide. It's like working with a bunch of R-Slur in here, can't get anything done right. Some people tried to ignore it, some quietly vented in the parking lot. Me? I started paying closer attention. I thought about quitting on the spot. About going back in there and making a scene, about telling the manager right then and there. I clocked out at the end of the night and didn't say a word. On the drive home, I blasted music, gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles went white. I wasn't going to be the angry autistic kid who blew up and got labeled a problem. I wasn't going to hand her the ammunition to make herself the victim. I was going to play this smart. And I was going to make sure everyone saw exactly who she was when the time was right. But in the back of my mind, a voice whispered, this isn't the moment. Get proof. Do it smart. I felt my ears go hot, my stomach twist, my vision narrow to just her smug face. I've been called a lot in my life, lazy, weird, a freak, but that word. That one hit different. Every time Bandy bragged about how much she made in tips that day, every time she dominated a meeting with nonsense, every time she slipped past the rules, I took note. She might hide behind bless your heart and fake prayers now, but I was going to find a way to show everyone exactly who she really was. And when that day came, I wasn't going to hold back, maybe even boring, and at first that was fine by me. She slipped right in, learning the ropes, smiling at everyone, and dropping bless your heart so often it became background noise. The managers liked her. The assistant manager even joked that she was the mom of the team. But there was something about her that never felt genuine. Like she was trying too hard to seem nice. The first real red flag came a few weeks in. I started noticing how Bandy would hover near the dispatch screen. Bandy kept scoring the best runs. The houses in the rich neighborhoods with big tips and no stairs. Maybe it was because Bandy was older, so she came off as more responsible. Maybe it was the way she constantly buttered them up with sweet words, little gifts, and God bless you charm. Whatever it was, it worked. Every time I hinted something was off, they'd nod politely, then ignore me. Meanwhile, the rest of us were getting stuck in sketchy apartments with broken elevators and $0 tips. It was like magic. Her luck was just too damn consistent. Now, but the resentment simmered. I wasn't the only one who noticed either. Mikey complained once about how Bandy somehow always got the biggest tips. But when he grumbled to the manager, he got the classic brush off. You're overthinking it, man. Just focus on doing your job. The way our system works, deliveries come in first come, first serve. No peeking, no picking and choosing. That's the rule. That's how you keep things fair. And in a small shop like ours, fairness is everything. But Bandy, she was always there, checking the addresses, grinning when the tips looked good. At first, I brushed it off. Maybe she was just curious. Maybe she was just excited to make money. But then it became a pattern. Somehow, I tried to tell myself I was imagining things. Management never seemed to take it seriously. Then came the driver meetings. These were supposed to be quick 10, maybe 15 minutes tops. She'd start talking about how God has blessed me so much this week, or how her pastor's sermon reminded her to be humble. It was maddening. I'd watch the clock, biting my tongue, feeling my anxiety spike. By the second month, I was done giving her the benefit of the doubt. It built up a powder keg of resentment in the shop. Because deep down I knew this couldn't last forever. It was a random Tuesday night. Bandy was there, of course, shuffling around, complaining about her car again, about how she had to pick up her son from church, about how the night was so hard for her. Then the dishes started piling up in the back. So I walked back there, grabbed a rag, and started scrubbing. You good, Bandy? I asked. She shot me this tight little smile. Oh, I'm fine, hon. I ignored the tone. She looked me dead in the eye and muttered. For a second, I couldn't even process it. It was like the words hung in the air, echoing around the tile walls. I froze, dish in my hand, soap dripping onto the floor. She didn't even flinch. She just shrugged. You heard me, she snapped, turning back to the sink. And in that moment, I wanted to throw the dish on the ground, to yell at her so loud the whole damn shop would stop and listen. So I put the dish down, wiped my hands, and walked away. And this woman, this fake-ass church lady just threw it in my face like I was garbage. I paced that alley for 10 minutes, trying to slow my breathing. So I walked back inside, head down, ignored her completely. When I got home, I wrote everything down, every word, exactly how she said it. That night, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, I made myself a promise. I don't forgive, and I don't forget. And that slur? That was the nail in her coffin. After that night, I started seeing Bandy's behavior in a new light. Bandy would waltz in late, sometimes 10, sometimes 30, even 50 minutes after her scheduled shift, and nothing would happen. I kept thinking, if I did any of that every time she cherry-picked orders, I wrote it down. Everyone saw it, but nobody wanted to be the one to rock the boat. We needed our jobs. You're screwing us all over. But another part of me knew that would just make me look unstable. I'd seen how management reacted when someone got loud. Management barely took complaints seriously when they were about delivery queues. Why would they believe me about something like this, especially when Bandy had them wrapped around her finger? I knew it would happen eventually. She'd slipped once, she'd slip again. Because maybe I couldn't get her on tape calling me the slur again. She kept showing up late with some sob story about her car, or her kid, or her church obligations. Because even though Bandy was clearly in the wrong, I knew how these things went. Some people would side with her, at least at first. Because I'm anxious, because I don't play the fake smile game the way she does. Bandy could play sweet, bat her eyelashes, every shift, every note I took, every picture I saved, it was fuel. Fuel for the day I would bring it all to HR, put it in their faces, and demand they do something. Drop a few bless yous, and get away with everything. No write-ups. No angry calls from the manager. Hell, half the time, our assistant manager, a creep with a reputation everyone whispered about, but nobody officially called out, would just shrug it off or joke that Bandy probably had another church thing. Before, I thought she was just irritating. Don't worry about what others are doing, just focus on your job, they'd say. Or if I needed to leave early to make a therapy appointment, I had to beg and plead for coverage, and half the time it still turned into a guilt trip about teamwork. Bandy kept picking her deliveries out of turn. It was infuriating. Especially because the same managers would hold driver meetings and give us big speeches about fairness, teamwork, and company standards. Meanwhile, Bandy was out here ignoring every standard and getting rewarded for it. She even kept hijacking meetings. The next time we gathered. Because I wasn't just getting revenge for me. I was doing it for every coworker who was too scared to speak up. I kept telling myself, just wait, just be patient. When the time comes, make it count. And when that day came, Bandy wouldn't even see it coming. Day by day, I could feel the tension building like a pressure cooker about to blow. Every shift felt heavier, like the air itself was thick with unspoken resentment. I was past the point of frustration. I was a volcano waiting to erupt, except this time. I wasn't going to spew lava in every direction. Mikey cornered me in the parking lot one night and told me he'd seen Bandy slip out early again. Sarah quietly handed me a photo she snapped of the dispatch screen, showing Bandy's name next to the fattest delivery tips of the night ones. She definitely shouldn't have gotten by the regular rotation. People were starting to whisper about how unfair it was, how management refused to step up, how they wished someone would do something. No, I was going to channel all that heat into one unstoppable burst aimed right at her and the weak, complicit managers protecting her. I was working the line, tossing pies into the oven, wiping sweat off my face every few minutes. Then figure it out yourself. I'm not your maid, she screeched. The driver, already frazzled, shot back something about how she was literally supposed to be helping, and Bandy lost it. He said he was done covering for her, done letting her pick deliveries, done pretending she wasn't a problem. And that's when I knew I wasn't alone anymore. People were ready to see her fall. She started yelling about how she wasn't going to be treated like trash, about how she was older and deserved respect, blah blah blah. Bandy was floating around doing dishes but really just hiding from the chaos like she always did. Bandy was still doing her think-locking and late, cherry-picking deliveries, dropping sanctimonious little quips about her church. Because while she was busy playing favorites and talking about God's blessings, I was laying the groundwork to expose her. HR was going to get every note, every photo, every statement. And they wouldn't be able to ignore it, not when the case was clear, not when half the staff was ready to back me up. And looking me dead in the eye with that smug, sugary smile that made my blood boil. I was doing it to protect myself and the rest of the crew from someone who didn't give a damn about any of us. Someone who thought kindness was a tool to manipulate, not something you actually lived. Sometimes it's slow, silent, and calculated. I don't want just petty payback. I want accountability. So if you're out there dealing with someone like Bandy, know this. Actions have consequences. And when they finally hit, oh, it's going to be sweet. Subscribe for the update, it's coming. Everyone just stopped and stared. And in that quiet gap, I almost did it. I almost threw off my gloves and called her out for everything. But I held back, barely. But what she didn't know was that I was done playing nice. It wasn't just me noticing anymore, either. The rest of the drivers started to come around. And all the while, Bandy kept talking. He agreed to back me up, even said he'd write a statement about how she treated him and others. A few more drivers quietly offered the same. She kept holding court in meetings, telling us about how God had blessed her with patience to deal with the immature kids at work, like we were the problem, not her. She waltzed in like nothing happened, spewing some excuse about traffic, and the assistant manager just waved it off again. I could feel it every time Bandy tried to make herself look like a saint in front of the managers. Every time she used her fake church lady routine to distract them from the truth. Every time she glanced over at me with that patronizing little smile that said, "You'll never touch me." I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. But I also made sure to jot it down in my notes, time-stamped and ready. But inside, I felt the fuse burning lower. My anxiety was spiking every shift. It was getting harder to hold back when she made snide comments or belittled someone for doing something wrong. Some nights I had to step into the walk-in cooler just to breathe, clenching my fists until the urge to scream passed. She'd laugh and joke with the managers, playing sweet while throwing shade at everyone else. And when she looked my way, I could see the flicker of disdain behind her eyes. She still thought she was untouchable. I kept biding my time, gathering evidence, practicing my email to HR in my head over and over. And then 2 weeks ago, it almost boiled over. We were slammed Friday night, peak rush, orders flying in faster than we could make them. One of the drivers shouted from the back that we were out of clean delivery bags, and Bandy just snapped at him. I swear, everything in the shop went silent for a moment. Later that night, I caught the driver outside, shaking and pissed off. That was the crack I'd been waiting for. So I got bolder. I told the driver exactly what I was doing, documenting everything, building a case, planning to go to HR with ironclad proof. The next day, Bandy came in nearly an hour late. The fuse was almost burned through, but she was wrong. And I knew the moment was coming. One more slip, one more slur, one more big infraction, and I was going to blow the doors open. I wasn't doing this just for revenge anymore. So yeah, the breaking point was coming. And when it hit, Bandy wasn't going to have anywhere to hide. This story isn't over yet, but I'm ready for the final chapter. Sometimes revenge isn't loud or immediate.